All right, what's up everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. As you can see, I'm downtown right now. And like always, whenever you see these earphones in me, if you have the chance to run into me in public, I'm usually listening to music, writing for culturalist theory, or I'm listening to a podcast or a book or something educational, just something to keep my mind going. And I came across this very, very small YouTube channel from South Africa. The link to the original video and the channel will be in the description. As you also see in the thumbnail of this video, I have a screenshot from this video as well. And it's about 4 South African sisters talking about Black consciousness. And I just want to give my commentary on this video, which I think is hella dope. It's very insightful, and I just have a lot of comments. So basically, these 4 sisters are, I assume, graduate students at a university somewhere in South Africa, and they probably study the humanities, and they probably think very deeply about sociology, philosophy, anthropology, and several things, especially in relation to Blackness. And the sisters were talking about, what does it mean to be, Black and free in South Africa? What does Black consciousness mean? What does Black beauty mean? What does Black excellence, etc.? And first and foremost, I have to say this. Listening to these sisters talk makes me so proud to be a Black American, because in Black America, we've had these conversations and sort of settled these issues, a generation ago or 2 generations ago. Like my father's generation, fought the fight to break our minds from colonialism or white supremacy, where we look at the white man and think his ice is colder, his life is better, his wealth is what we should have, etc., etc. And though while still in the Black American community, we're still under the grip of capitalism and capitalist thinking, where, we think that we should have our own businesses where we can exploit people, or we should have our own systems of oppression, just like how the white man has economically. We're still fighting that fight, with the Black radical socialist or communist left versus the traditional liberal capitalist type of, Black revolutionary thinking. With these sisters, they're very anti-capitalist, and also they're figuring out, they sound like their generation is just now breaking the chains of like, oh, white is better. Let's, dye our hair blonde. Let's straighten it out. Let's try to, slim our bodies down to fit into the Eurocentric body types. Like, I want to shout out these sisters for actually working through these issues, but I also want to give a salute to my ancestors, my Black American ancestors, who told us, Black is beautiful. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, etc., etc. Something else interesting that they were talking about in that video is in relation to Black excellence, and how, they feel uncomfortable with the term Black excellence, right? And how, basically what they're saying is like, Black excellence in a lot of ways just means copying and mimicking the ways of the white man. I drive a BMW or a Mercedes like the white man. I live in a, European capital city just like the white man. I, have certain clothes or certain speech patterns or certain languages that I've acquired that make me similar to the white man, right? And, I grew up, I came into my early 20s when like the phrase Black excellence was coined by like, all our famous rappers and stuff like that, Jay-Z, Diddy, Kanye, etc., right? And, I embrace that term because, generally anything that tries to uplift, Black people or the idea that we can be, the opposite of the negative tropes that they put upon us, I definitely want to embrace and pull into and try to incorporate into my language or incorporate into my speech patterns. But as, I've matured and become more politically and economically aware, Black excellence in a lot of ways just means how can we be rich and capitalistic and exploitative like the white man too? You get what I'm saying? And also in a roundabout type of way, incorporating many of the anti-Black tropes that we've embodied. Nobody says Black excellence if you're wearing like African garb like what I'm wearing now, or if you speak Yoruba fluently or Igbo fluently or Xhosa fluently, right? That's not Black excellence. Black excellence is like, I live in Paris, I drive a Mercedes, I have $1 million in the bank, etc., etc. So that was a very interesting take that the ladies were talking about. Also, a funny thing that they were talking about is like, can the yellow bones, can a yellow bone say she's black and beautiful, right? Going now to the black and beautiful part. You know, in South Africa, you know, they went through many years of apartheid. You know, in South Africa, many of the sons and daughters of the colonizers still own all the wealth in the country, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, there's still a lot of economic apartheid, economic oppression. It's one of the most unequal countries in the world in terms of wealth. And, you know, the idea that you are black and rich is equated to being black and white, right? And also the idea that, you know, beauty is also tied not to blackness, but actually to whiteness as well. And they're still trying to break the chains of that in South Africa. In a lot of ways, the beauty standards of South Africa are still associated with lighter skin tones or just essentially just being white too. So I found it beautiful that the sisters were talking about that, but they also said, you know, blackness is not only in relation to your melanin, how dark you are, but it's a state of being. Being black is not just your skin tone, because we all know that this racial construct that the white man created is not real. There are no such thing as black people. They just created the social construct that we live under that's very real in how we practice it, but it's not real in terms of biology. Like under our skin, we're all the same, you know, human species. We're not a different species of people, right? Race is just, you know, a way to divide us, a way to actually, you know, commodify people, break up the working class, et cetera, right? But I thought it was very interesting how the sisters were working through what does it mean to be black and beautiful, you know, in the context of South Africa. And it also gets very complicated because, you know, they have a group of people in South Africa called the Coloreds, who are, you know, the descendants of the Europeans' rampant rape in South Africa, who now differentiate themselves from black people or categorize themselves differently from black people. Like a light-skinned person like Tyler, for example, or Trevor Noah is not, you know, in America, what we would call a black person, they would be a colored, a totally different group of people, right? So what is black beauty, black excellence, you know, all of these ideas about black liberation and freeing our minds from the chains of white supremacy? What does that mean for the colored person? And they were talking about that as well. And once again, we have to, you know, break out of these confines of dividing ourselves as, you know, coloreds or blacks, or, you know, I'm not black, brother, I'm African, or I'm Dominican, Poppy. Like, we need to break those chains and actually, like, see each other as one group of people, because that's how the white supremacists view us too, right? So I thought that was very interesting as well. And, you know, the sisters were also talking about like how in South Africa, they're basically priming, you know, the young black South Africans as they go into higher education to basically just become human resource managers or low-level servants to white capital, right? And that, you know, the true money-making careers, the STEM careers, mathematics, science, engineering, you know, all of those things are still in the hands of the white minority. Those are the ones who are able to enter into those fields, and they're able to take advantage of the opportunity to actually, you know, level up in society, right? Something that still locks a lot of black people out. So they were saying, like, we need to open the doors of education and not make it so prohibitively expensive. And I know this for a fact because I'm studying out here in Budapest, Hungary. But when I looked up, you know, what does it take to get an undergrad degree in South Africa, it was like double the price of what I'm paying here in Hungary, right? And, you know, I'm not trying to say, like, you know, once again, Hungary is so much better than South Africa, but, like, you know, when I think about probably, you know, where I would imagine to get a cheaper education, I would think it would be South Africa, but I'm paying about 2,400 euros per semester to get my undergraduate degree in sociology here. And I looked it up in South Africa, it's about 4,900 euros to go and study down there. You get what I'm saying? So that's crazy. And I know on average, the average black South African doesn't have that money to go attend the universities, but I know the whites do. And so they also spoke about, and this is the last point I'll bring up, you know, how white supremacy affects black people even at the highest echelons of power, right? And this is why it's so important for us to break the bonds of, you know, white supremacist thinking on our consciousness, because they brought up, you know, the president of South Africa visiting Donald Trump after Donald Trump and his corrupt, racist, white supremacist regime allowed in, you know, tens of white South African farmers who are the victims of a non-existent genocide. And, you know, this president, Ramaphosa, was treated like, you know, a slave, like a waiter, like, you know, basically like a nobody in the halls of power of the United States for no other reason than he was black. Now, I kind of want to push back against that because we saw how Trump treated Zelensky in the Oval Office, and in a lot of ways, Ramaphosa handled that situation better. And in my honest opinion, even though he was very disrespected, I think Zelensky, you know, the white Jewish man from Ukraine fighting against Putin's invasive war in his country, was more disrespected, you know. But I think that was also a shock because, you know, we didn't expect Trump to also like just jump on Zelensky like that. But I do think, you know, the way Trump was talking to Ramaphosa was also a little bit of that old white man that runs in his DNA, just saying, how dare you black man tell me that I'm lying about a genocide in your country, a place I've never been to. So they were covering a lot of very good points, and I just wanted to, you know, give my commentary about this video. I encourage all of you to check it out, and I'll catch y'all later on my next video that I post. Y'all be easy out there. Peace.